All right, let's move to one of our major stories of the day, which is the alarming state of hostels in Nigerian universities. Now, a few weeks, 2 weeks ago, I guess, or last week, we reported the protest in the Federal University, where unfortunately some students died in that protest when they we laid the convoy of the First Lady of that state and all of that. That has brought to social media a lot of discourse as to how some of our tertiary institutions are actually being mismanaged. You know, a lot of them lack the basic infrastructure that a school system should have. Now, the pathetic state of infrastructure, especially as it affects hostels in our public universities across the country, has become quite alarming. For instance, that is a toilet facility in one of the tertiary institutions. Anyway, reports from many public universities have exposed the harrowing condition of hostels and other learning infrastructure where future leaders of this country are supposedly being trained. From the first generation universities that have been there for over 4 decades to the newly established ones, the story is the same. Decadent and disgusting hostels, laboratories, libraries, lecture halls, inadequate and poorly maintained facilities, overcrowded hostels, lack of water and power supply, filthy rooms, bathrooms, general poor sanitation, sanitary conditions. Now, let's give us some instances. At the University of Lagos, with about 25,000 students, for instance, only a fraction of the students are accommodated in the halls of residents. The rest are left to perch or squats, you know, like we say in my time. And then the rooms become very congested. You find a room that's supposed to accommodate 4 students, you have like 10 to 12 students, you know. In some worst case scenarios, you have to take out the beds, you know, so you can put the mattresses on the floor, and then at night you all sleep like sardines in a can and all of that. That is the situation at Unilag. Now, at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Enugu campus, the hostels are reportedly dilapidated and have become an eyesore. The male hostels are said to be the worst hit, filthy and uninhabitable. Indications are that the 2 hostels on the campus that had 2,000 bed spaces now accommodate about 5,000 students. Nsukka campus is worse. The male hostels, toilets and bathrooms are disease infested, according to the students. Now, to avoid contracting diseases, the students are now forced to defecate in the surrounding bushes, where they are even exposed to more danger. Most of these hostels, no windows, no ceilings, no doors, everything falling apart. Gentlemen, this is a worrisome condition. Now, my first question is, how do we begin to justify the huge oil money that this country has earned over the decade, you know, over time? Where really was this money expended?
Madam, because it falls into my home constituency.
As a lecturer, okay.
I have seen it all. The better of the hostel you can see is only in private schools. Many of our public institutions, either College of Education, polytechnics, universities, all our hostels, oh my God, you cannot even ask animals. You know, there are some certain animals, there are some certain dogs. If you put them where it's dirty, they won't be comfortable there. Talk less of human being. If you read it from all around, in fact, those fear hostels that you can see is on the school in the northeastern part of Nigeria. It's fear. It's fear compared to the one we have. But the one in southeast, southwest, forget it. The thing here is this: many political class, they don't put much ISIS into the administration of tertiary institutions in Nigeria. In fact, the level of corruption in those entity of governance is so huge that nobody can even depth into it. For instance, now we know that federal government always set aside some certain money, but this money, is it even going down? Is it the normal they're supposed to send? They are sending. What is the vice chancellor, the council doing with that money is another thing. Then another thing again is this: is it that the governors to the state-owned institution, are they doing the right thing? In fact, let me shock you. There are some certain schools the government, the governor will only send 30% of what they are going to need in the month. Whatever the school raise is the one they are going to augment to pay the staff. That is how it's done. They don't even touch the building. It's some certain vice chancellor, some certain rectors and provosts that always try to, out of this little money, they want to put some certain infrastructure into place. The another thing again is this: we should not deceive ourselves. It's not compulsory that an institution should have hostel if the hostel is not good. For instance, now Lagos State University is planning to have hostel. If every school hostel could be that of that one they are building now, I think it's massive.
Okay, let me hear from someone else. All right, that's it.
Yeah, you see, madam, you have mentioned the institutions, and they are all federal-owned institutions. Do you know why the rate of diseases and infertilities in the school among the females? Some could be traced to infections
during their school days.
Yes. And a man go carry and come back. I begin to worry. My wife couldn't. So it's unfortunate. Last time, that was last year, sometime last year, we called in the Minister for Labor, Chris Ngige. And I was one who asked him this question, that there is this opinion that why those in governance are not interested in funding tertiary education is because their children are not there. And he said, no, that even his 3 children are in Nigerian university. And we asked him to mention them. He was not them. What has happened to the federal allocations? What has happened to the internal revenue generations? And things like that. But my worry is this: a lot of corruptions going on in the institutions. They don't use it, they don't apply it. Plus other imposed levies on the students. Yes. The handout, I no longer hear about the handout whatever. Why should our government allow federal institutions, a place of learning, bringing up future leaders, be in such horrible situation, and the government is not doing anything? Every year, vice chancellor comes, he goes, another person comes. Nobody has been able to see what is happening. Go to the library, nothing. Go to even do you know that some students who have passed through the world of 4 years that have not even have access to computer? Yes. So it's unfortunate, and I begin to worry, why are we doing this to ourselves? And none of the Nigerian universities has ranked up to even the 100th in Africa. None. And because it's nothing. The Nsukka you mentioned, the pride of Nigeria, University of Nsukka. That was when Nnamdi Azikiwe was that university was supposed to rename after him. He said no. It's a symbol of unity. But today, it's a symbol of unity in dirtiness, in every manner of ills. Then what about Lagos? Where everybody wants to send his or her child to. It's in a sorry situation. I am worried, like every other Nigerian.
All right, Mr. Shokwito, I do know that the budgetary allocation for education every year is not as it should be, but there is an allocation.
What do they do with it?
Then what is being done with that money?
The allocation is too small. I mean, it's too small. Roughly 300 billion naira per annum. Just count the number of federal universities alone and divide by that number. And you'll find that, it comes to a figure that you really can't do anything with. That's the honest truth. Which is why, UNESCO, the United Nations have said recommended percentage of your budget allocated to education should not be less. It should hover between 18 to 25%. And we're doing 3%, 4% every year. What do you expect? So the hostels are just a sign of a bigger problem. Our education system is grossly underfunded, and the successive government after government do not pay attention to these things because they don't see the strategic importance of education and the education system to them and their survival and their next election. And the children, like he has said before, don't attend these institutions.
Okay.
So, I mean, what do we expect? So I think that we need to focus on that bigger problem of the university system in Nigeria. The whole of the education sector is grossly underfunded, and government needs to pay more attention to it. If we don't do it, we'll just keep crying year in, year out, and it will continue to get worse. It will get worse. it's been getting worse and worse from our days in the university. We used to complain in our day, funny enough. The room that I was in University of Ilorin was designed originally as a kitchenette.
Wow.
Guess what? We that stayed in kitchenettes were the big boys on campus. Because the kitchenettes were like, you know, you pay a special amount, so you have only about 3 or 4 of you in that kitchenette, in the kitchenette. But the main hostels themselves, it was a mess. And that was, I'm talking of almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's been getting worse. So imagine where we were then and where we are now. So it's not surprising. The toilets.
It's getting worse, really, because I know in my time,
it's a mess.
I never was on hostel. So I don't have a first-hand experience like that. I was always outside campus. I don't thank you, my father, for doing that. It's not long as that's what I was getting to. I mean, you'd rather your children are on campus where at least there's some level of security. Having said that, some of those schools don't even have hostels.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are some states
not having hostels in our own area is even better than having hostels. For instance now, hostel is good. Ordinarily, there are some certain institutions based on the edict or the law that established that school. They are not school that should have hostels. Later on, some of them have to just go for edit where they are going to re-establish. Like LASU now. LASU was not meant to have hostel. But now, because of the population they are having and because of the seniority of the area and the way it's come now, the Vice Chancellor is trying to say, okay, let us have. And they partner with. Another thing again is that if you want to get it right in the area of hostel, we should involve private partnership. Because if you do that, if a bank, let's say a bank now put money on ground to build an hostel, they are the one that will manage it. They are the one that will make sure those. But
I think there's an embargo on that, isn't there? Something like that.
That was the time that was an issue. But now a lot of universities now, especially state university, they are making opportunity of that. Okay. If all of them can be able to be doing that, we should be able to have at least a very scenery improvement in the area of hostel. Because if you get to some certain hostel, you cannot even go there. Could you believe? That's why I said the one of the northwest is still fair. At least when I said in Jigawa was called heart of Kano State. Could you believe before they built a place where core members' houses will be? Because Sule Lamido did a very wonderful job. That particular is very superb. But during our own time, we served in a college of education. Could you believe that the toilet in that college of education served all of us? As in, it serves us. It's not that you are going to be begged. No. Like in I think we are like 20 on a row, and we have like 5 toilets and 5 beds. And immediately we leave in the morning. Before we come back, they clean it up.
Okay. All right. Mazi did raise a very salient point, though. I mean, we do know that the education curriculum is already, it's nothing to write home about. But then again, you have those young Nigerians whose health is being compromised by the day because they are forced to live in these inhabitable places. All right, let's look at some feedbacks. This one says some schools don't even have hostels, like Lagos State University. Many students always go and rent an apartment. All right, Mr. Biodun Shokuto is here today. Good afternoon, sir. And he says, fortunately, the governor has demonstrated that he has a grasp of what he intends to do about moving the state forward. He has a blueprint of his vision for the state. No cause for alarm for me. I think he's reacting to the Kwara State story. Now, the health of those children is being compromised. That's another ticking time bomb. Yeah. And that's putting it mildly, because we're raising a generation of unhealthy human beings who will come into the larger society. Exactly. This has to be looked into. We're begging the government, please.
Both federal and state.
I think
even some of the public universities, private, I was going to say.
But they are home.
The building we're seeing constantly on TV, that is actually Madonna University. That's Madonna University, where you pay as high as 600,000 to almost 2 million naira.
Because we also we also have a problem of as we say, maintenance culture and all that. So it's a bit funny. But I think more than anything, what I see in this is an opportunity. Like you were saying, there are so many universities now, I'm aware of quite a number of them, who are building hostel facilities in partnership with private developers who will build make the facilities fantastic and all that, and charge the students.
Yes.
You know, so the university will charge the students as a part of your annual school fees or whatever. They charge on behalf of the operator, and you get your money. So you run it is almost like a hotel.
Yes.
We are talking about the universities. What about the airports?
But how many students can afford?
No. It's not. I mean, so the numbers. I was actually involved in one very closely, and what you have to, of course, do is to bear in mind the economic capacity of your customers, of your consumers.
Yes.
So the idea was to build and recoup your investment over a 25-year period. 25 years.
All right. Okay, that makes
so
sense.
that would make it very affordable.
The body
Budget
on
them
too fast.
All right. Okay, I wish you had more time to have gone into the issue of the airports.
Yeah.
I think we all know.
Yeah, we all know.
We all know.
So we are talking.
Big problem.
These are people that this is an institution that generates money to the federal government. But what do you see? What do you get there?
But sir, I must confess.
10 seconds.
Muritala Mohammed International Airport.
It's improving.
It's improving.
Okay.
That one I can attest to that. That one.
We lamented, we cried. Because at times we go there,
if you use it now, somebody is ready to clean it instantly after using it.
Good.
We continue to come.